Scars are not shame, they're sacred ground, proof that healing can still be found. We don't hide our wounds here, we tend. We teach what it means for broken to bend. This is beauty in ashes, and you're not alone. Here we turn silence into a home. Each tear becomes a drop of truth. Each truth becomes a sacred root. We teach the soul to breathe again, to walk, to speak, to rise, to mend. You are not your trauma, you are not your past. Let it rot. You are love, you are light, you are soul reborn. You're the calm in the eye of your own storm. On beauty and ashes, we say your name. We hold your pain. We light the path until you can walk it on your own. And even then, you're never truly alone. Beauty in ashes, freedom and truth, healing for elders, healing for youth. This is our platform, our prayer, our stage. This is our reckoning, our sacred rights. This is the song of hearts restored. This is the space we all move
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Beauty and Ashes. I have got Alicia with me here tonight, and we are going to kind of shoot from the hip because my original plan for this week kind of went, well, I don't know where it went, so that's fine. So welcome, Alicia. I'm so glad that you're here with me. So I was kind of thinking maybe we could kind of go over, because I know you have had some experiences with having to set some hard boundaries with some family members and stuff. Are you willing to kind of talk about that a little bit this week?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the things that I like to bring up when I'm talking about healing, especially healing from trauma and hard situations, is your circles of trust and boundaries, and how to set boundaries with people in order to keep your mental health and your just spirit safe, so to speak. Hi, Debbie. Hi, John. Welcome. And so this is something that Alicia and I have had conversations about, and she's had some experiences just recently about having to set some hard boundaries with some family. I don't remember. Was it your sister?
Sister, yeah. Hi,
Yeah.
Debbie.
Hi, Classic. So what was it that brought you to the point where you realized that you really needed to set some hard boundaries there?
I had started to kind of make a generalized announcement to everybody about the whole case with my daughter, and how the more I felt like I didn't have support, the harder it was getting for me to fight. And so when I became uncomfortable was when like for instance, my sister decided to start justifying CPS's behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time siding like with me on the whole situation, and it really started to mess with my head. Like, do I have her support? Is this somebody that if I'm not around and my children are with her, are are they going to be safe if she can side with CPS and their wrongdoings and know that they did this? How am I supposed to feel comfortable leaving my children in her care should I have to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I just mentally, it was messing with me. Like, I wanted to be able to trust her, but there were those little cues that weren't little to me. Like, they really messed with my head. And it's one thing to talk about support, it's another thing to show that, hey, you can trust me. Nothing's going to happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had to, for my peace of mind, put a little bit of distance there.
Right. So was your sister kind of like a close person? Like, did you spend a lot of time with her and everything?
Oh,
Or...
I mean, we 95% of the day we were talking.
Okay. So like
I
she's
think.
like one of your first circle people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So that was a decision you had to make based off of what you were seeing in the patterns of how her behavior was towards you, and having to make the decision to maybe remove her a circle or two and put a little more distance in between.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why I teach circles, especially with kids, because children are young, they are vulnerable, they don't have the ability to make the same type of personal calls about people that adults are able to, because they don't know everything yet. And so this is why I teach my kids the circles of trust. So your first circle are the people that's closest to you, usually in your own household, although there can be exceptions to that, especially if you have somebody staying for an undetermined amount of time or something. Typically parents or siblings can be in your first circle, sometimes grandparents or aunts or uncles. But it is so important to build your first circle off of very specific types of personality and character qualities. And in a world where a lot of people just kind of overlook character development, that can be a very hard call to make sometimes. So I know, like in our family, I've always taught the kids, look for people who have honor, who have integrity, who are respectful, people who are going to do what they say, mean what they say, are honest, not sneaky or lying, people who don't ask you to keep secrets, people who are protective of you and the family. And so they know, like, first circle people are those that we keep closest. And we do tend to keep that circle very small, because the larger it gets, the more complicated it can be. And then your second circle is just removed partially out from there. And those are people that you spend a lot of time with, but maybe don't live in your household, but are kind of close in your life and may hang out and stuff. But you can always remove people temporarily or permanently, depending on their ability to respect your boundaries and to have good character. So I've had to experience that, and then I'm teaching my kids through all of these things that we're going through with CPS. And my son said to me today, he says, "Mom," he asked me if a specific person, which circle that person was in. So I told him, well, they are technically kind of your first or second circle, because it's somebody that's in their life that very much cares about them. I have never seen any reason to have alarm or a worry about them leading my kids astray or hurting them. And so, but then my son says, and I don't know about first circle, Mom. I just don't trust anybody anymore. So that's fun thing that CPS has done to my children.
I mean, I'm right there with them.
I know, I know, and I can't even. fault him for that because I feel the same way. It's like, how do you even trust people anymore after going through things like this? And that is very hard. And so that's something, especially if you're trying to heal after or while going through a CPS case, um, you really need to sit back and look at the people who are around you and how they act, and is their are their actions matching their words, and vice versa, and are they really people that you want to have around you, because it's very hard to trust people after going through something like this. So um yes, classic mommy, they can. Many people that were once trustworthy can say or do things that trigger PTSD after CPS has traumatized your world. Now, just a word on triggers. You need to be able to know and identify your own triggers. And when they happen, you need to know that that's what's happening. This is not something that you can necessarily blame another person for, because another person can't see inside your head. They aren't always going to know that their words or their actions are going to trigger your PTSD. So that is something that you do have to be responsible for. But in being responsible for that, you need to be able to communicate clearly, hey, what you just said, these words are very triggering to me, and I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't. And then that puts the responsibility on the other person to not repeat the offense. So that's something, especially with PTSD triggers and stuff, you kind of have to work with the people around you a little bit and give them at least a little bit of leeway, because nobody can read your mind. So that's something that you have to take responsibility for and then communicate. Now, if a person keeps stepping on those triggers after the fact and it's a repeated offense over and over and over, now we've got a problem. But once or twice and you're communicating it, I wouldn't consider that to be like a major red flag. If it's a continued pattern, though, that would absolutely be a red flag. So what are your thoughts, Alicia?
I was just going to say, me and my husband, with our case being federal, and hopefully we have a decision tomorrow on if our baby comes home. Well, they're supposed to give responses tomorrow, but nobody's been served. So hopefully they're just going to go through with the TRO without being served, because I've got good enough reason why they don't deserve to be served any sort of notice. But we have talked about the setting boundaries, because not only do I want my kids to feel safe, but I have to feel safe.
Absolutely.
If I don't feel safe, then my kids are going to feel that, and I can't have that for them. So we've discussed that the minute that there is any lack of trust in your character, we're stepping back. Like, you are going to lose your access to us until you can build that trust back up. That's a boundary. I mean, that's a pretty firm boundary that I have kind of set in place, but I have to do that for my mental health, my well-being, my kids' mental health, my kids' well-being. And I'm not going to force anybody to sit back and support my decisions. Everybody is entitled to feel the way they feel about the situation, but I know what I'm doing is right, and I can't have anybody trying to hold me back for the sake of my family. My family deserves to be whole. They don't, I can't drag my feet on anything when it comes to bringing us all back together. So boundaries have been real big here lately with me and all of our family.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's really hard, especially when you've gone through such a traumatic situation, that a lot of people have family and friends that don't understand because they've never been through it. And people can be awfully abrasive and very unthoughtful in how they approach it. And so having that ability to say, okay, I've got a problem here. We need to step back and then we need to have some conversations, and you're going to have to rebuild trust because I'm not sure I can handle this, especially for your kids, especially if you're bringing your little one home. She's going to need to be able to feel safe and protected in your custody again. And that's going to take some time for just even you and your husband to be able to build trust with her specifically. And having a lot of outside influences right away is probably not going to be the best thing. I would imagine. I mean, there can be positive influences, absolutely. And I'm not saying you should shut yourself up away from the world or anything, but having those boundaries set in order for you guys to build that trust with her and to kind of mend your family back together, that's going to be so important. I think you're on the right track there, so that's good.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So I've had instances. I actually it kind of broke my heart, but I actually had to put hard boundaries between us and my in-laws after my husband had passed away, because it felt like every time we had a conversation, like they couldn't just have a conversation. It always felt like their pain was worse than my pain, and I felt like I was being blamed for a lot of things that were wrong in our marriage. And I don't think that they would go so far as to say that they blamed me for his death, but I know that there was a lot of hurt surrounding that, which is completely fair. And I understand their trauma was different than my trauma. It was still trauma, but it's like we couldn't have a conversation. And then they kind of started asking for all of the things back that had been gifted to us, that kind of made me and the kids feel like we were part of the family. And it kind of sort of like made me feel like they were stripping me of my status in a way, because I chose to move out of the state because I couldn't make it where we were at. And so I had to draw a hard boundary there, for the sake of my mental health and for the sake of trying to get my children and I through this really horrific trauma that we had experienced. And that was really, really hard. So I've had to do that myself. And then more recently, with all this CPS stuff, man, I tell you what, it's like drawing boundaries all over the place.
I feel like it's the hardest when it comes to family too.
It
Like,
is.
because you don't want to have to push them away or
No.
hold back. Like family, I mean, I grew up in foster care, so I have more of an idea of what I want family to be, and that's just not the reality of family, apparently. Like,
Not always, no. Well,
at least my reality is a little construed to most. Like, I didn't have anybody that I could go to. So then from adulthood, I mean, I got to know like my biological family, and then the people that I had adopted and made my family, or that had adopted me into like their little, I don't want to say circle, but into their lives as though I was family. They've shown me that my idea of family, or what I've always pictured a healthy family to be, is not. Just, it's almost unreasonable to ask for that much loyalty out of people anymore.
sometimes.
And that's really sad.
Yeah, family can be so tricky. I think we would all wish that our family could be like the poster card Hallmark family. Everybody's happy. Okay, we have our rough patches, but then everybody makes up and everybody's happy and we have Christmas together and yay. But that's just not typical reality, I guess. And it's really hard too, because we're all kind of, in a sense, well, some of us anyway, I guess you're experience would probably be different, but that idea of blood is thicker than water, and you kind of have to stick with your family and you stick by your family, whatever. Now, I love my family and I'm there for them when they need me, but sometimes there has to be boundaries just because we live our lives very differently. Our situations are all different. The way we perceive the world is very different. I have a family member right now that is being very judgmental towards me because of the whole CPS situation. And I'm just like, well, that's your opinion, but you don't know because you haven't been through it. So, you know, it's hard when it's with family. I have to say the first one's always the hardest, but once you get more comfortable with where your boundaries need to be and you get more comfortable with communicating them, they get easier as they go. And before you know it, you're surrounded by people you actually like want to be surrounded by, and then that's a fabulous thing too, because in no sense making those boundaries actually sometimes makes room for a better situation in a lot of ways. So I've seen that over the years. I tell Gunnar all the time, I feel like we're collecting limited editions in people. Like it's like just random. Like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty happy with the people I have around me right now. So
Yeah, my kids don't know this, but our family is a build-a-family. Like, we didn't get to go to the store to build our family, but they're definitely built.
mm-hmm.
I think my husband talks to like two of his, and they're not even blood, but two of his siblings. And then all of my family is build a family step, technically, or just no blood relation at all. Like, a bit, I almost prefer it that way. Like, because I am not, I don't have to force these relationships with people. It does make it a little easier to like step back, because the minute you hear, oh, well, that, we'll say mom, for instance, that's the only mom you're ever going to get. It's not, though. Not for me, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
because I get to pick who my family is. I'm blessed enough that I got to pick who my family was. But I have been judged on like, my brother-in-law, my husband, so my in-laws. His brother had made a comment once about cutting people from his side of the family out of our lives for our well-being and our mental health. And he's like, well, that's the only family you're going to get. But if
Not,
they're not healthy for our family and they're not healthy for us, why should we force that relationship?
you shouldn't. You
And
shouldn't.
that's the judgment you get when it comes to cutting
Oh,
family out
oh
or
yeah.
putting those boundaries in place.
We collect people all the time. I mean, like, we're such strange friends sometimes. I love them all. But, I mean, like, sometimes it's just, like, for instance, somebody that Gunnar met, like, a long time ago in the course of his business and then ended up being an employee or whatever. And now she's, like, a really good friend. She's like, I'll be there for your court date if you need me. Like people like that who are no relation whatsoever, but act like family. Like I know I could call her at any given time and she would show up if she was at all humanly capable of it. And I am blessed to have a blood sister that is also the same. You need me, I will be there. And so it's kind of fun in a way to make your own family, because sometimes the people who aren't family are more family than family.
Yes,
So,
100%.
and sometimes you have to kind of shift people to make room for those people. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, you don't have to be stuck with your family if they're not healthy for you. You can go find people and make your own family. That's why you'll hear me talk about community all the time. not everybody is going to fit well in the same circles in the same community. A person who can be a first circle person for me may not be a first circle person for somebody else. Somebody who is a fifth circle person for somebody else may be a first circle person for me. I mean, it all really depends on your character and how you act in my circles and how you interact with my family. And people can have differences of opinion that aren't necessarily like major red flags. They're just differences of opinion and you just don't fit well. Or, like my sister once said about one of her exes, I absolutely love this about her. She turns around and she says, well, our traumas were not cohabitating well. And that's absolutely true. Sometimes you have traumas and triggers that do not cohabitate well, and you just really struggle to maneuver around each other, or you have trouble because your triggers set off another person's triggers, or your healing, like the needs you have for your healing, are triggers for the other person that has happened. And it's okay to admit that, and it's okay to have conversations about it, and it's okay to decide that this is not a relationship that is healthy for me now. We can revisit it later, or we don't have to at all. So, I mean, that's all. It all goes and plays into like what is best for you. And there are people who will be a part of your life for 20, 30 years. And then one day you'll be going through something and realize they're not the person to walk with you through that. You need to find somebody else. And that happens too. And that's okay too. Because that doesn't necessarily mean that that person is a negative person in your life. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't good for you. They just may not be good for you right then. They may not be the person who can walk beside you through that particular situation. And that is okay.
Well, I've had like my one daughter, my 2-year-old, she's named after somebody that sadly she'll probably never know. Not because the person has passed away or anything like that, but because that person just, she became somebody that we did not know anymore. Why everything changed, I have no clue. Hopefully one day she'll get back to the person that she once was, that we knew, that we had brought into our family and become close to. But she had made choices that put our children at risk. And I mean, that was a hard, for it not being like family, that was a hard boundary to set, because like, what if my daughter asks why she's got 5 different names? Because she's got a
Right.
lot of names.
I
Because she's
love that.
named after a lot of people that at her time of birth, they were big people in our lives, and they had done so much and been so supportive that we didn't want to just like leave anybody out. So she's got like 5 names.
That's cute though. I love that.
But how do you explain if she's like, Mom, why did you give me such an awfully long name? And I'm like, well, because I named you after this person, this person, this person, and this person. And she's like, oh, well, who's that? It was somebody at one point in time that I didn't think I'd ever be able to live my life without. But and that was probably the first time I ever honestly even really set a boundary with anybody. Like, to the extent of, you no longer get the access that you had to me, to my family, or to anybody I care about if I can help it, until you step back and you realize that this behavior is not okay for anybody, not even for your own family. Would this behavior be okay? And that was a lot easier of a boundary, and that was a complete cutoff. Like, have not Sorry, the baby's screaming.
It happens. It's fine.
Have not had any contact for about 2 years now, because my daughter's 2.5 technically. And that was just, I never thought, because we had been friends for over a decade. I mean, one of my closest friends that was still alive. I didn't think I'd ever be able to make it through that. And it was easier to cut that off than it was my sister, who I've. What?
It's oh, she's upset.
No, that's the boy.
Oh, he's upset.
Yeah, that's the boy. The little one just ran out here, though, to let Dad know that he's crying.
Aww.
Oh, yeah. He's just got a really high-pitched shrill.
Oh.
But, like, my sister, I only just met her 4.5, 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, that was...
She's your bio sister, right?
No, so she is technically my stepsister.
Oh, okay.
But not technically my stepsister. So her dad is who I consider my dad.
Okay.
He was engaged to my biological mom.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. So they got engaged like right at the beginning of all my CPS stuff with my oldest daughter. So they were there for everything. They were there for it all. And so I think maybe that's why setting this boundary with her was hurt so much and was so hard, because you were literally right there with me, went through it all with me. We did visits with your niece, my daughter, together. Like, you babysat her. You were one of the first and only people to hold her. And how can you justify all this?
That's hard.
And then I think that's honestly why it was a lot harder, even though that relationship was a lot shorter in length than the one that I've actually named a child after. It was the fact that that whole case is what got us as close as we are. Like, you would think we grew up our entire lives together. There's not one thing that girl doesn't know about me or that I don't know about her.
Right.
And that's how the whole case even got us as close as we got, was dealing with all of this. And she was my support. And then now I can't think. Like, role reversed or not? No, that's not it. The script has been flipped. That's it. The script has been flipped, and now your understanding of why it all happened. I don't even understand why it all happened. There's no understanding to it.
These are not things that we understand except in the terms of monetary gain, honestly, because nothing else makes sense. But yeah, that's really hard, especially when they walk through it with you and they see what's going on, and then to turn around and be like, oh, but that's not. Yeah, I can
but
see
they were just doing their job. But we've already determined they weren't doing their job.
Like, wait,
not right.
I've this so many times over.
Like, they didn't have to do any of it.
I mean, how about y'all out there in the audience? How many times have you heard that one? They were just doing their job. I roll my eyes every time, because in one sense it's absolutely true, but we all know that their job is problematic. And so for somebody to come in and say, well, they were just doing their job, is like an extreme dismissal of your experience, in my opinion, because that just takes away all of the pain, the suffering, the violations. Like, it just, and maybe it's just the people have to wrap it up in a neat little bow so that they can comprehend it. I don't know, but I've heard that so many times. Well, they were just doing their job. Okay, so that's great, but can we talk about how all of these violations happen? How my family's been completely destroyed, how I'm missing a child, a husband, a sister, whatever it is that you all are missing out there. Like, can we talk about the pain of going through this and being separated from somebody who is vital to me? Like, it's having a part of your flesh ripped out, in a sense. Like, you've got a piece of you missing. And to have somebody come in and just dismiss it all with, they were just doing their job. Like, I don't know. I just, personally, I feel like that's one of the most painful things somebody can say to me.
Like, I don't ever want her to be in that situation.
Oh,
Like,
no.
for anybody to just look at her and be like, well, they were just doing their job. No. Correct. Yes, they were doing their job. However, their job is not good. They did their job is to cause trauma and pain, and their job is not what you think their job is. And
No.
that is our issue.
It's manipulation, it's coercive control, it's mind-numbingly just some of the things they throw at us just don't even make sense. They really don't. And so, what plants? I'm sorry. That's terrible. Your poor kids. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? That's rough. Where did your kids go after that? Oh my.
Hopefully not into the system.
I hope not. I don't know.
Could you imagine that one?
No.
The person raising you passing away while you're in their care, and then you just go to some complete strangers?
Yeah. I mean, I've got kids who lost their dad, so they've got trauma on top of trauma. So I can understand that, but oh my goodness. Blood plants, this sounds horrible. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I don't, and I think that's one of the hardest things, is because I had a therapist tell me that, well, he was just doing his job. But his job tore my family apart with no evidence to support his claim. Like, that's terrible. Your mom survived? Oh, well, I'm glad your mom survived. That's, oh my goodness. Your poor kid.
But okay, so your therapist though. So
yeah. So
say you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your therapist wants you to work through your trauma. And mentally, it causes more pain that you're not ready to deal with. And then you go and unalive yourself.
Well, I didn't.
The therapist was just doing their job.
Right.
Nobody would say that to the therapist, though. Nobody would say that to your therapist. If your therapist is like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have pushed for them to work through that issue.
I don't know. It was very interesting because my kids were in therapy. I was in therapy because we were trying to work through the traumas we already had. And then and this was even harder for me because our first original caseworker and my therapist were both male of the same demographic. And I don't typically judge people by their appearance or whatever, but it was just too weird. And then to have the one just completely bullying me, threatening me, coercing me, like forcing me to do all these things, and then trying to talk to this therapist about what I was experiencing and how I was feeling about it, and to have him turn around and say, "Well, he was just doing his job." It was just less than helpful. I was very upset, and I stopped going to therapy because of it. Because how are you supposed to talk to somebody, anybody? Like, how are you supposed to have trust after that? Like, I couldn't trust him.
How are you
So
supposed to feel like you're being heard?
I didn't. So that's why I stopped going.
I mean, so yeah, why would you continue if you're not even being heard?
Exactly. So I had to throw a hard line on my therapist, and I cut him out because the relationship wasn't working.
See, throughout my case, I had an issue with therapists, and I would go because they always want you to go through their providers and do this and do that. And I'm sorry, but I want an unbiased opinion. Like, me and my husband have even had conflicts with the unbiased opinion. I can hear something from him, and maybe it's just me, but it doesn't mean the same as if I hear it from an outside source. Like, because it's my husband, and I feel like, of course, he's going to side with me. He's my husband. Uh, or at least he's going to back me because he's my husband.
I mean, unless he sees something extremely wrong with where you're standing, then I mean, I hope he would speak up, but in a respectful way.
Yeah, but for the most part, like, he's got my back. If I feel a certain way, then he's like, "Yeah, I get it. You have every
Absolutely.
right to feel that way."
Yeah.
But so when that's how I kind of see CPS providers. It's their people to have their back. How am I ever supposed to feel comfortable being open and being honest with these people that I know are reporting back to you? Like, you want me to work on my issues? I have to be able to be comfortable doing that.
Right.
And I can't trust that your therapist is not going to turn around and twist everything I just told them to meet your agenda for court.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah. I don't, yeah. So, therapy. I recommend it, but have conversations with your therapist before you get into it, because they're not all equally helpful in every situation at all. And plants, I'm glad that you have your kids back. And no, it wasn't the CPS worker's job to tell that to the therapist. Well, yeah, that doesn't even make sense. I have no idea. They're so helpful, aren't they? The stories. Oh my goodness. So, in the midst of going through these situations that are so very difficult for us, it is so important to be able to identify the people around you who are being supportive. Now, it's okay for somebody to call you out. It's okay for somebody to say, "Hey, I'm seeing this in you. I'm concerned. Maybe we need to have a conversation about this." It's okay for somebody to call out, like, certain things, but it's not okay for them to downplay your trauma and your pain and the situation that you're going through. And it's not okay to dismiss the fact that we are being walked all over all the time in these cases.
I think I read something last night that said, well, this was about in-laws, but it I feel like it could pertain to a lot more than just like your in-laws. So it had said, if you, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember exactly what it said, but if somebody comes, if your spouse comes to you and has an issue with an in-law, it is not your spouse's responsibility to correct that issue. That is your family, your in-law. You chose to be with your spouse. You choose to back your spouse. Is pretty much what it was. So I feel like that could be taken into more than just an in-law type of situation.
Yeah.
Like if you choose to go through this fight with me from beginning to end, or any fight with me from beginning to end, you're
Mhm.
choosing to have my back. Obviously, if there is something deeper that you see that I don't, because everybody's got different perspectives on things. You can come to me and say, "Hey, I don't agree with this part, but the rest I get." Like
Yeah.
it would have been a whole nother situation with my sister if she had just said, like, "Hey, did you ever think that maybe the caseworker felt this way and that's why they went through?" Or instead of just, "Well, they were just doing their job. You got to understand that they have to do this." Or, "You're overthinking it."
Oh,
I
really?
can't stand that you're overthinking it. No, I'm not. I'm not
I'm
overthinking
pretty sure
nothing.
none of us out here are overthinking it. Oh my goodness.
Everything is when
What's
I start to talk about my fear of CPS, you're just overthinking it. How though, when I have witnessed how corrupt they can be, how many laws they're willing to break,
so many?
how am I overthinking any part of them?
You're not. You're absolutely not.
Like there's
When
just certain ways to come. If you disagree, you disagree. That's fine. I don't expect anybody to fully agree with everything I say,
no,
but there's a way to come about your disagreement. And when you completely dismiss the way I feel to justify somebody else and their behaviors,
hmm,
that's not okay to me.
no, it's not. I think it's hard too for people to understand who have never been through it themselves. I know that in your instance, your sister kind of walked through it with you, but from the second that caseworker crosses your threshold, or however it worked out that you ended up in this case, they monopolize your entire life. People do not understand this. You can get a call at any time. Bring the kids in. We want to talk to them. We want to come by your house. We want to do this. We want to do that. Court dates. You you have no idea how many there's going to be. You don't know when they're going to be. You don't know if you're going to end up having court on the date that they set, or if something's going to come up and they're going to have to move it again. You don't know if you're going to get through and have to appeal and then go through the process all over again. Like, you don't understand. And then if your child is taken, now you're worried about that child like every waking moment, because that child is not with you and you don't know what's happening, and it's concerning. And like, I went through that with my stepson. He's not my biological child, but I was very worried about him, especially where he ended up. And these things happen, and people just don't understand how much of your time, your energy, and everything CPS literally steals from you. And they just monopolize your entire life for an extended amount of time, some longer than others. And then those of us who choose to say, okay, well, this is a problem and we need to fight it because I deserve to have my family. We've done nothing wrong. Well, then you're in for an uphill battle even longer because you're actually going to sit here and fight it. And they don't like that. So then you end up in situations like with what I'm dealing with retaliation. I'm pretty sure I'm being stalked. And, all of that. So then now that's a whole nother layer of worry and concern that's on top of you.
I mean, but they're just doing their job, Sharon.
Right. I guess. I just want to know if they're underpaid and understaffed and they're so limited on resources, how do they have the time or the resources? That's what I want to know. Like,
right?
What?
Right.
How do you?
They're just doing their job that well.
They have the time and the resources to waste on watching somebody who's literally doing nothing except,
Who was it that said on one of the shows they would literally sit and watch your social medias?
Oh, they do.
Oh, right when I started this, like, decided I'm taking this federal, like, this is the only shot I have at my daughter coming home. One post in, one TikTok made, and boom, caseworker from 3 years ago. All of a sudden watching my stuff. I'm like, honey, it's been 3 years. Shouldn't you be, like, I don't know, watching some? I don't even live in your state anymore.
I don't know. Is their name on the lawsuit?
Shouldn't you be watching, like, the children that need you to watch them? The children that actually need protecting, not somebody you can't even touch?
No, imagine how much in state funds is going to this project. Because, and I know it's true, because this last batch of court documents that they served to me literally has a TikTok video written into it.
Oh, they had taken pictures off of my Instagram.
Time or energy.
Yeah, they had taken it through my case pictures off of Instagram, and I'm like, I'm not even on your time here.
But they're understaffed, they're underpaid, and they lack resources. Explain that. If you're understaffed, underpaid, and lack resources, don't you think that those resources would be better spent helping children who are being abused or abandoned or whatever than watching us fight you online?
Right?
I mean, yeah. I'm just saying. Because as of right now, none of us have actually done much except filed. Now, when we go to court, maybe that's another matter. But right now, all we've done is filed, and we're talking, and we're sharing information. They don't like that. But none of us are out here, like, causing issues. We're not breaking laws. We're not harming anybody.
I think it's they're trying to be proactive, maybe. Stay one step ahead of it. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think. Why waste your time watching what I'm doing online? I'm sure you're not getting any sort of entertainment out of it.
Or they might be. Who knows?
If you are, you got to be a little bit of a narcissist. Like, because everything I'm saying is not going to make you happy.
I mean, quite frankly, the things that we're saying, you should learn for yourself, but just saying.
But they're not. They're not.
But they're not. And that's the thing. I'm like, you can watch my TikTok all day long. I'm just going to keep poking holes at the system. I'm going to keep trying to wake people up. I'm going to keep trying to teach people how to heal from the damage you're doing.
Or prevent it.
Should people come across it and realize, oh, wait, I should be prepared. I mean, you want proactive. We're being proactive. I mean, we're trying to help people understand that this is the realities that so many of us have gone through. We don't We don't want to see other people go through it. I don't want to see other people go through it. I do not want to see other children go through it. And I wish that caseworkers understood the extent of the damage that they are causing to children and to families, because if they understood the extent of the damage, I honestly don't think most of them would be doing the job that they're doing.
I think that the ones that end up noticing the damage that's being done are the ones that don't make it long in that line of work.
I think that's probably very
And then
true.
the ones that are so senior to it, they know and they just really don't care.
That is very possible. Yeah, that's very possible. I mean, I don't understand what it takes to be that person who can walk into somebody's home and make up a bunch of crap and take away their children. Like that's pretty messed up. But that, I mean, and a lot of it is how, I mean, we've said it over and over. Their policies and procedures are written a very specific way, and they're trained a very specific way. But I think that if they understood the extent of the damage that is being done, like, see, I was thinking about that the other day, because that one post I made, why aren't we adopting whole families? Why don't we have family mentorship as part of these programs? These parenting classes are useless. Why don't we have mentorship? Why aren't we allowing foster families who are willing to volunteer? Why aren't we assigning foster families a whole nother family to support and take care of? Now, I know that not every situation is the same, and I know that some things are not possible for every situation. Like, I'm not unrealistic. There are terrible parents out there. But why is separation the first solution we go to? That makes no sense to me.
I think it's because you can mold a child. You can mold a child. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
That could very well be.
So if they only take the child, they can alter that child to fit what they want that child to believe, to think, how they want that child to act. I mean, they can mold that child. That's why the older a child gets, they don't want that kid no more.
Yeah, that's very true.
Babies, toddlers, I'd say about the age of 5,
I think
is
it's
what
like
most foster families want.
5 and below, because they're not fully developed yet to the point that their personality is still developing and everything else. And I mean, I know it has to do with money, and also, I mean, it is cultural genocide. They're separating children from their culture, from their birthright, and giving them to strangers. And then they're repeating the process again when you all age out and you start having your own kids. And then they remove those kids. And then you got to wonder, like, how many generations does it take for a bloodline to no longer exist, because every child's been removed from their birthright? Like, and I honestly do think that they make it nearly impossible, or at least very difficult, to find your bio parents once you're out, on purpose.
See, I haven't looked into it yet, but now it kind of makes me wonder how many states allow, like, leave it open after an adoption.
Like an open adoption?
Well, when they adopt a child out for a TPR, automatically it's a closed adoption.
Yeah.
In
so through
most states,
I believe foster care only, I could be wrong, I think they only do closed adoption. Open adoptions are done through like agencies or through private contract. So,
okay. I just didn't know. I know a girl who she still gets to see her kids, and they were adopted. But I don't know if that was a closed adoption and she just has really awesome foster to adopt parents that took her kids. or what that situation kind of looked like.
I don't know.
But
I'd have to, honestly, I might have to like do some research on that, because I know that there are possibilities to still see your kids after they're in foster care and even maybe adopted out, but I don't think the state typically deals in open adoptions, because the idea is to alienate the parent, right?
yeah.
And then if you can alienate the parent, then the
So
parent.
why claim reunification and then close an adoption so that there can't be contact? Because I know that like my adoption with me when I was a kid, it was closed. The one with my daughter that I'm trying to fight, it's closed. As a child, I could reach out to my bios, but they were not allowed to reach back out to me without my adopted parents' permission.
Right. So
If I were to reach out to my daughter, I would be thrown in jail.
Yeah.
Quick as crap.
Right. So part of that is parental alienation. Keep you out of the picture so that they can parent this child that technically belongs to you.
Then why even say reunification at the beginning? You already know what you're going to do. You already know what you're going to do.
Because it looks good on paper. I honestly, I believe that's what it comes down to. And it sounds good to foster families to get them to sign up. Oh, I'm helping reunify families. I'm just keeping them temporarily until their parents can get their feet back under them. Like, I mean, isn't that the narrative that they sell to everybody else out there too? What we do is reunification is always the first goal. But when it doesn't work, we have these other options. They're just not being honest about how many times it could have worked, or that parent went through every single hoop over and above and beyond, and they still decided to go the opposite way. I mean, their numbers, and I don't think a lot of people understand, their numbers are doctored. Like, there's no way in heck that their numbers are accurate.
Well, and then the other thing I haven't looked into yet, but I plan to, is every foster family a foster to adopt?
No. Not every family is. They will sometimes be asked to be, or I think you can sign up as that when you first sign up, but not all of them do. And then some of them are asked along the way, but no, not every family is foster to adopt. And typically the ones that are foster to adopt, at least from what I have seen and observed, are the ones that take the babies.
Yeah, see, because every foster family I've ever dealt with, the option for adoption was always there. Like,
yeah,
you could either choose to adopt the child or just continue to foster them. Some only wanted to foster because you lose money once you adopt.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. But
that was always the option that they all had was, I mean, if you want to adopt, let us know.
I do think that there is that option for them to turn around and say they will after the fact, but I don't think all of them purposefully get into it to adopt specifically. But I do know that the system uses foster families for adoption too. But I do believe that they also have adoption, like they use certain adoption agencies and stuff as well. So there's a whole network interconnected in there, and I'm not the one who knows all of that information, but all right, guys, I think it is time to kind of wrap up. Thank you for joining us tonight. For coming and hanging out with me, having a great. You guys, make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Self-care is so important, and make sure that you're setting boundaries where they need to be. You got a last minute, Alicia?
I've got a trauma, broken heart.
No.
Good.
I think we had a good night tonight.
I think we did.
All my babies are sleeping.
Fine. You guys have a good week, and we'll see you again on Monday next week. Oh, Next week, I've got a guest coming on, and we're going to go to homeschool information for y'all next. I've got that work. So, that'll
Can't wait. See you guys.
Yep. Good night.
Beauty from ashes, there's hope. When we come together, we'll raise this family. We'll teach them how to love and how to feel safe again. We'll raise this family. CPS tore my family apart, and I've got a trauma broken heart. And the ones I love, they tore them from me, my kids and me. I never thought I could trust again. I felt so alone and broken, and I needed someone to help me heal. Teach me how to love and feel. Beauty from ashes, there's hope. When we come together, we'll raise this family. We'll teach them how to love and how to feel safe.